Rabbi Soloveitchik open, I saw another teaching from Rabbi Soloveitchik, which I wanted to share with you because it relates to the writing of the Torah, which is something I'm obsessed with, about writing Torah scrolls. And there's a halacha that relates to the writing of a Torah scroll, which Rabbi Soloveitchik brings into his interpretation at the end of our portion. So let us go to the very end of the parasha, where it mentions a very unusual scene in the Torah. And this is the scene of Moshe's face being radiant. This is the scene of Moshe's face being radiant. So what's the message? What's going on here? So we're going to go to chapter 34, verse 27. But really, we're going to talk about when Moshe's face was radiant, which is a couple of verses after that. So it says, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, God says to Moshe, write for yourself these words, because on the basis of these words, I made a covenant with you in Israel. Moshe was with God for 40 days and 40 nights. And he didn't eat bread, he didn't drink water, and he wrote on these tablets these words of the covenant. Okay, verse 29.
Sorry.
Yes. Hold on one second. Trying to say something? So now we're saying that Moshe is going to come down. So Moshe comes down with the mountain. He comes down with the second set of tablets. When is that? Rashi tells us that is on Yom Kippur. Moshe comes down with the second set of tablets. He comes down from the mountain. And when he comes down with the second set of tablets, you can already see that this is different than the first set. Now Moshe, who has this role in the writing of the second tablets, is intimately involved. His whole complexion changed. Even though the first tablets were prepared entirely by God, and these tablets were prepared with Moshe's help, these tablets, Moshe's whole appearance changed. It says, Moshe lo yada ki karan or panav b'dabro ito. Moshe didn't even realize that his face shone when he had spoken to God. Rashi says, karan means an expression of horns. Ki lashon karnayim. Sham or mafik uboet kamin karen. That the light off of Moshe's face would project like a horn. It looked like Moshe had a horn because he had the light coming off of his head. And why did Moses have this merit? Because it says, when Moshe stood in the cave earlier in the portion, and God passed in front of him, God placed his hand on Moshe's face. It says, V'sachoti kapi. And it says, I will cover my palm. So Moshe has this light coming from him. Vayar Aaron kol bnei Israel and Moshe. And Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses. And behold, his face was radiant. Vinei karan or panav. Vayir'u migeshet elav. And they were afraid to come close to him. And Moshe called to them. And they returned to him, Aaron and all the princes, and Moshe spoke to them. And afterwards, all of Israel came close, and Moshe commanded them that which God spoke to him on Mount Sinai. And then when Moshe finished speaking with them, he put a mask on his face. Moshe, when Moshe came before God, he removed the mask. And from this point on, Moshe wore a mask when he spoke to the children of Israel. And when Moshe would speak with God, he would he would remove the mask, and then when he came to speak to the people, he would put the mask on until he went to speak with God again. What is this idea of the radiance of Moshe's face? What's the idea behind the radiance of Moshe's face? This is what Rabbi Soloveitchik says. This is what he says. It relates to this idea that we just said a moment ago. Why did Moshe develop this radiance only after the second tablet? How come he didn't have this radiance after the first tablets? Okay, he had the radiance after the second tablets, but not after the first tablets. So says Rabbi Soloveitchik, the answer is that the first tablets represent, like we said before, the written Torah, whereas the second tablets represents the oral Torah. And now we see that there's a difference between the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written Torah, by the way, the whole world has the written Torah. This is not Rabbi Soloveitchik saying, this is me saying it. The whole world has the written Torah. The oral Torah is unique to the Jewish people. Only the Jews have the oral Torah. In receiving the written Torah, Moshe was just a messenger. The radiance on Moshe's face suggests that after he received the second set of tablets, which was accompanied by the oral law, Moshe absorbed the Torah into the essence of his personality. He now personified the Torah. And now Moshe was transformed into a living Torah scroll. So this is what Rabbi Yehuda Bar Nachman said, that as Moses was writing the Torah, the second set of tablets, a little ink was left on his pen, which he passed over his face. He put this remaining ink from his quill, he put it over his face, and this leftover ink was the source of his radiance. I'm going to say that one more time. There was a little ink left on Moshe's pen when he was writing the Torah, and this leftover ink made his face shine brightly. And this teaches us, says Rabbi Soloveitchik, and this is being passed down by his student, Rabbi Schechter in Nefesh Harav, that as much as a Torah scholar writes and presents his ideas publicly, most of the Torah remains unspoken. Meaning to say, all this illumination came from just the remnants of the ink of the Torah. He's unable to pass all that he knows on to others. As Rabbi Eliezer said to his students, I've learned much Torah, but the amount of Torah I learned from my teachers is akin to a dog lapping at the sea. The Torah that Moshe was unable to pass on to others, the greatness that remained with him is what gave Moshe's face its radiance. So what gave his radiance? The Torah that was within him. He wasn't able to pass it on. It all came from the extra ink of the quill. And now this is the part. The halacha states that every letter in a Torah scroll must be completely surrounded by blank parchment. The Gemara Menachos, meaning to say the letters can't have any negia. And one letter can't be touching another letter. If you see a Torah scroll and one letter is touching another letter, Torah scroll is not kosher. You have to fix that. You can fix it. But every letter needs its own space. All 304,805 letters cannot be touching another letter. If even one of them is touching, the Torah scroll is no good. Why is that? This is what only Rabbi Soloveitchik's point is to say, that the Torah must be surrounded by blank parchment to symbolize that as much as is written in the scroll, there's far more that is not given to writing. Meaning to say, the blank has to be greater than the written. There always has to be blank next to the written to show that the page is blank. And that's for the students of the Torah to fill it in. The students of the Torah to fill it in. That's the idea of why Moshe's face was radiant, because he contained the Torah within him. That's the idea of Moshe owning the Torah, Pesalacha, engraved for yourself. That's the idea of this was the sin of Bnei Israel at the golden calf, that they didn't realize that the Torah was theirs. They thought it belonged, that they needed a golden calf because they couldn't do it on their own. The sin of self-negation. And that's why the second Torah was about elevating us in our relationship with Hashem. That's the message of Rabbi Soloveitchik about the words Pesolacha. Let me stop here, see if anybody has any questions about the ideas we shared today.